As you might have guessed, William Shakespeare loved words. In fact, he loved them so much that he often invented new ones, many of which we still use, such as cheap, arch-villain, and downstairs. He invented the word critic, which is ironic, since the first mention of Shakespeare's career is by his contemporary critic and playwright, Robert Greene, who called him an upstart crow and a shake scene. And so CenterStage in Lake Forest proudly welcomes you to another trio of shake scenes by that upstart crow, as our talented actors present episode 2 of Where There's a Will, There's a Way, Shakespeare Online.
Hi, my name is Ben Terpstra, and I'm excited to be a part of Where There's a Will, There's a Way, Shakespeare Online. Today I'll be sharing with you one of my favorite monologues from Shakespeare, popularly known as the Tennis Court Speech. From King Henry V, Act 1, Scene 2, it's filled with symbolism, metaphor, wordplay, double entendre, and enough humor to make it one of the funniest declarations of war ever written. So, if you think you hear a bawdy joke or a veiled threat, you're probably right. Before we get started, let's set the stage. Having recently ascended to the throne, Henry has yet to prove himself worthy of the crown. Many members of his own court are skeptical of his ability to lead, particularly because of his reputation as a party boy. Henry is well known, both in England and abroad, for his habit of drinking, carousing, and playing games like tennis with commoners. As a result, he's considered by many to lack the dignity and solemnity required to be king. In addition, the freshly minted monarch is facing political pressure from members of his court to go to war with France over disputed territory. However, Henry is uncertain as to whether war in this context would be justified. As he wrestles with this decision, a French ambassador arrives with a chest full of treasure and a message from the Dauphin, which is the traditional title for a French prince and translates roughly to dolphin. In his message, the Dauphin tells Henry to stay out of France and stick to playing games in England. To add insult to injury, it is then revealed that the chest of treasure is actually filled to the brim with tennis balls. In the face of derision from the Dauphin and skepticism from members of his own court, this is King Henry's extemporaneous response. We are glad the Dauphin is so pleasant with us. His present and your pains we thank you for. When we have marched our rackets to these balls, we will in France, by God's grace, play as set, shall strike his father's crown into the hazard. Tell him you have made a match with such a wrangler that all the courts of France will be disturbed with chases, and we understand him well, how he comes o'er us with our wilder days, not measuring what use we made of them. We never valued this poor seat of England, and therefore living hence did give ourselves to barbarous license, as 'tis ever common, that men are merriest when they are from home. But tell the Dauphin I will keep my state, be like a king, and show my sail of greatness when I do rouse me in my throne of France. For that I have laid by my majesty, and plotted like a man for working days, but I will rise therewith so full of glory that I will dazzle all the eyes of France, yea, strike the Dauphin blind to look on us, and tell the pleasant prince this mock of his hath turned his balls to gunstones, and his soul shall stand sore charged for the wasteful vengeance that shall fly with him. For many a thousand widows shall this his mock out of their dear husbands, mock mothers from their sons, mock castles down, and some are yet ungotten and unborn that shall have cause to curse the Dauphin's scorn. But this lies all within the will of God, to whom I do appeal, and in whose name tell you the Dauphin I am coming on, to venge me as I may, and to put forth my rightful hand in a well-hallowed cause. So get you hence in peace, and tell the dolphin, his jest will savor but of shallow wit, when thousands weep more than did laugh at it. Convey them with safe conduct. Fare you well.
My name is Lyn Ward Page. Titania, Queen of the Fairies in A Midsummer Night's Dream, is raising the child of one of her followers, a woman who died giving birth to the little boy. Titania's husband, Oberon, feels that as King of the Fairies, he should control everything in Fairyland and demands possession of the boy. After reminiscing about happier times with the child's mother, Titania refuses Oberon's demand. Titania is clearly one of the characters contemporary critics identify as Shakespeare's strong women. I feel drawn to these characters and have chosen to share Shakespeare's vivid portrait of one of these complex women, her warm and caring qualities as friend and surrogate mother, and her queenly strength. Set your heart at rest. The fairyland buys not the child of me. His mother was a votress of my order, and in the spiced Indian air by night, full often hath she gossiped by my side, and sat with me on Neptune's yellow sands, marking the embarked traders on the flood. When we have laughed to see the sails conceive and grow big-bellied in the wanton wind, which she, with pretty and with swimming gait, following, her womb then rich with my young squire, would imitate and sail upon the land to fetch me trifles, and return again as from a voyage rich with merchandise. But she, being mortal, of that boy did die, and for her sake do I rear up her boy, and for her sake I will not part with him.
Hi there, my name is Jason Lacombe, and I've chosen a piece from Richard II. I've chosen Act 2, Scene 3, And I chose it because it's so rare in a theatrical sense that we get to see someone coming to terms with the end of their life with any sort of cordiality. Frequently they're blowing against the winds of fortune or decrying their fate, but here in this piece it's solemnity, it's calm, and it's almost like a nirvana, and that's something that we don't get to see a lot in any sort of media or medium, period. And because of that, I think it has weight and it has value in its own sense. I hope you enjoy. Let's talk of graves, of worms and epitaphs. Make dust our paper, and with rainy eyes write sorrow on the bosom of the earth. Let's choose executors and talk of wills. And yet not so. For what can we bequeath save our deposed bodies to the ground? Our lands, our lives, and all our bowling brooks, and nothing can we call our own but death, and that small model of the barren earth which serves as paste and cover to our bones. For God's sake, let's sit upon the ground and tell sad stories of the death of kings, how some have been deposed, some slain in war, some haunted by the ghosts they have deposed, some poisoned by their wives, some sleeping killed, all murdered, for within the hollow crown that rounds the mortal temples of a king keeps death his court, and there the antic sits, scoffing his state and grinning at his pomp, allowing him a breath, a little scene, to monarchize, be feared and kill with looks, infusing him with self and vain conceit, as if this flesh, which was about our life, were brass impregnable. And humoured thus comes at the last, and with a little pin bores through his castle wall, and farewell, king! Cover your heads, and mock not flesh and blood with solemn reverence. Throw away respect, tradition, form, and ceremonious duty, for you have but mistook me all this while. I live with bread like you, feel want, taste grief, need friends. Subjected thus, how can you say to me I am a king?